It appears summer was so kind as its parting gift this time to give us a second major heat wave this summer that will be including rare 100-degree temperatures in the month of September. So these are going to be stats behind the heat wave and how long I expect it to last. National Weather Service watches and warnings. There is an excessive heat warning up for the Willamette Valley and the lower Columbia River from Columbia County inland from Thursday at 12 p.m. through Friday at 10 p.m. In addition to heat advisories up for the Columbia River Gorge, Coast Range, Washington Cascades and Lowlands, and the Columbia Basin plus Central Oregon. Now, onto our setup for this heat wave. It is going to be a little bit different than the setup in July, as the high pressure system in July was parked pretty close to us, and on some days, right on top of Oregon or Washington. This time, the high pressure system is going to be situated further north into British Columbia. It's actually further north than my typical setup map allows. It's closer towards central BC for the upper level high, and the lower level high is right at about the edge of the map there. Now that is going to cause some light easterly winds to come off the Cascades. I'm not expecting anywhere close to what caused the major wildfires in 2020 to occur, but that is going to dry out the vegetation a little bit, though since late August was generally speaking, a little bit on the wet side compared to normal in the Cascades. It's always compared to the past 10 years. That should reduce the fire risk. Now, this high pressure system eventually will slowly weaken and move to the east as is typical over the next couple of days, and I don't expect this to last nearly as long as the July heat wave. So some records for the month of September in both Eugene and Portland. They've had exactly 2 days in their history where they've hit 100 degrees or higher in September. September 2nd, 1988 is the record high for both at 105 for Portland and 103 for Eugene. And September 5th, 1944 with 101 in Portland and Eugene. Salem had 3 additional days where it hit 100 degrees. The record's 104. Their second place is also on September 5th, 1944. And then in September 1st, 1988, had an additional day above 100 at 102. September 2nd, 1934 at 101. And 100 degrees on September 4th, 1935. So 100 degrees have happened in September. Mid 100s have happened in September. 100-degree temperatures in September are possible till mid-September or so. So we're still within that window by about 2 weeks. So September heat waves, a little bit differently than our typical July, early August heat waves, because the setup more commonly involves easterly winds of varying strengths. In this case, it is going to be a little bit lighter than some other September heat waves. Drier air can result from this, especially the stronger the east wind gets, which results in a higher risk of dehydration, but the lower humidity levels does lower the heat index. It does also increase fire danger, especially on the west side of mountain ranges. And the shorter days also mean cooler nighttime temperatures, because we're like in July, something like this, I'd probably be forecasting somewhere between 67 and 72 degrees, depending on the setup. And for Portland, for Corvallis, knock off about 5 to 10 degrees, depending on the setup. For September, generally I'll only be looking at 62 to 66 in these type of setups. It's also easier to get the proper pattern for the highest potential temperature. However, the potential is lower than early July, which is the warmest possible time under an ideal setup. Easterly winds are what bring Portland their warmest temperatures, or at least the highest potential, and that is uncommon the earlier in the summer you go, but once you get into May, easterly winds are a little bit more common again. So is that very front end of the summer and the very tail end is where that risk is the highest. Also, because fires can pop up out of the blue, especially human-caused fires, smoke can lower temperatures below what would otherwise be expected, and some smoke might occur on Thursday and Friday up in the upper atmosphere. I don't expect any to hit the lower atmosphere, so that might lower the temperature by a few degrees. Then also one last little tidbit, I did not put this in text, but prior to the mother of all heat waves in 2021, September actually held the record for highest 850 millibar temperature, which is the temperature at about 5,000 feet over Salem. And that temperature is one tactic that we use to calculate temperatures down here on the surface, especially because model resolutions are coarse enough that it bleeds the terrain into elevations that it shouldn't quite be. Like, for instance, on the GFS Ensemble members, which is the American Ensemble, it has Portland at, I believe, 550 feet, where the actual elevation of the Portland airport is 20 feet. Straight into the 7-day forecast, and I will start with Corvallis / the southern Willamette Valley. 95 degrees is what I'm expecting today, followed by one day in the 100s for anywhere south of Salem. So 101 degrees on Thursday, and then 97 on Friday. I am expecting a bit of an onshore or flow push later in the day on Friday. I don't expect it to be very strong though, so don't expect much relief during the day. And then Saturday, right at about 90 degrees. Sunday, back into the mid 80s. Then we don't get back to close to normal until Tuesday. And while I don't show it in the graphics, there is a slight chance of showers as we go into Tuesday. I'd put it at about 20% at this time. For the Portland metro area, like Corvallis, 95 degrees today, followed by 2 days in the hundreds, and that 100-degree day on Friday would break the record for latest 100-degree days, as currently the record is on Thursday, which is September 5th. Cooling down a bit on Saturday, but still pretty warm at 93 degrees for this time of year. And then staying above average for the foreseeable future, but getting closer to average with a high of 79 degrees on Tuesday compared to a then average high of 77, with low temperatures in Portland being in the mid 60s for the heat wave, dropping into the mid 50s afterwards. And then one note, I expect the rain chances on Tuesday to actually be a little bit less in the Portland area than it is in Corvallis. So that's going to be it for this video. I don't know if I'm going to be coming out with daily updates or not. I will come out with one on Friday with the stats of that. And since I was out of town for the thunderstorms, that would normally actually be something that triggers a forecast video, especially considering there's a severe thunderstorm watch for that. So I think I might either blend that into Friday's video, or I'll create a separate video for that, showing how uncommon the thunderstorms were back in mid-August. So be on the lookout for that. Otherwise, the only other announcement I have is winter is starting to breathe down our necks, and I am preparing to begin my work on the annual winter weather forecast, which will be released traditionally during the last week of October. Otherwise, I will catch you all later, so stay cool out there and take care.